Hey, Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. I have 10 players that the Raiders could target in the first round of the 2019 NFL Draft. Let's face it, the Raiders are by far the most intriguing team in this year's draft because they have 3 picks in the first round, 10 picks overall in the 2019 NFL Draft. Heck, we have 6 picks in the top 106. There's been plenty of rumors out there if they're going to trade up, trade back. Is Kyler Murray going to be on my list? I'm not going to give that one away quite yet. And I think one of the most intriguing things, Mike Mayock's first draft, absolute stud NFL draft expert. Maybe not as good as Tom Downey, who, by the way, will be on the show later on. So make sure you use those questions, hashtag Raiders, get them on the show. All right, let's take a look at the offense because the offense really wasn't all that great last year for the Raiders, ranked 28th in points per game, 23rd in yards per game. When I look at the biggest needs for the Raiders, I'm looking at running back, wide receiver, offensive tackle, and tight end. Spoiler alert, 2 of those positions will be on this show. Then I'm going to look at the defense. I think the defense is absolutely the bigger need for the Oakland Raiders, ranked 32nd in points per game. Guess what? That's last place, ranked 26th in yards per game, and their biggest needs, defensive end, linebacker, safety, cornerback, basically the entire defense in general. All right, let's get into the Raiders' first round targets. This first name, it's an obvious one to me. It's Nick Bosa, and here's the thing, though. He is no longer the top prospect in this year's class, according to our draft expert, Tom Downey. He was projected to be the number 1 pick, and he is still projected to be the number 1 pick by many, but it's the injury history in the past. I get that he has the high upside. And in 2018, 14 tackles, 4 sacks, 6 tackles for a loss, but a lot of people are pointing the finger at what Nick Bosa did his entire career. Sure, limited sample size, 29 games, but a 17.5 sacks. I think when you look at the overall skill set of Nick Bosa, I've said it before in the show, it's a lazy comparison to call him his brother, but the dude is just like his brother, Joey, and if he can be on the field, Joey Bosa, sign me up for that for pick 1 all day of the week. Another player that I think the Raiders could target at 4 if he slips there is Josh Allen. And Josh Allen is one of these players when I first started looking at the draft, I didn't have my eyes on Allen. And then, man, I watched him, and he improved, and he improved. And as he improved as the season went on, I was like, man, this kid is special. And we know that the Raiders need a defensive end, and here's the thing, like, the Raiders could trade down, and then if they do end up trading down, they're not going to get Josh Allen, Nick Bosa, or the player I'm going to talk about next. But he continually got better. He's coachable. And when I think of a coach like Jon Gruden, he wants players who are coachable and continue to get better. From his first year at Kentucky, from his last year at Kentucky, Josh Allen improved every single year. With the upside that this guy has, he has just size, and he has athletic ability that you just simply can't coach or can't teach. And if you can coach him how to be a good football player, that's why I absolutely love Josh Allen. I also absolutely love the BetDSI offer that we got going on right now. It's 120% deposit bonus. Go to chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code Raiders120 for 120% deposit bonus. Do you think I can drink 6 beers in 6 minutes? Go bet on it. Chatsports.com/bet. Shout out to BetDSI for giving us with the best promo code on the internet. Let's go in and out of the new number 1 player on Tom Downey's big board. It's Quinnen Williams. And I remember when Tom told me that Quinnen was his top player, not that I was too surprised because he's an absolute freak of a player, young, only a redshirt sophomore this past year. But the defensive tackle position, I don't think is as big of a need for the Raiders as the defensive end. But at the end of the day, if you're 4-12, sometimes I think it's a little bit overhyped that when people say, well, that he's not the player or that's not the position we need. The Raiders were 4-12. You have a lot of needs, and at the end of the day, you need to add talent. And if Quinnen Williams is the best player in the draft, according to my dude, I'm going to believe in him. And if he's there on the board at number 4 because other teams, I don't know, maybe wanted to draft a quarterback and he slid down the board, guess what? You give me Quinnen Williams, you give me Josh Allen, you give me Nick Bosa. Any one of those 3 players at pick 4, and I am absolutely... McDonald's isn't even a sponsor. I'm loving it. So, McDonald's, if you want to be a sponsor, let me know. Hit me up on IG and Twitter at MitchellRens365. My next player here that I think the Raiders could target at 4 is Devin White. And I've been kind of on the fence a little bit about Devin White because I've listened to what Paul Guenther has said to the media, and he's come out and said that he doesn't really know if the Raiders should draft a linebacker in round 1, but Man, Devin White absolutely killed it at LSU with 123 tackles. He's, I think, by far the best linebacker in this class. We know the Raiders need a linebacker, and the dude absolutely tore it up at the combine. So we saw what he did on the field. I think he has the upside to be a player like a Bobby Wagner. And when you then take what he did on the field, and then you look at the tape at the combine, man, Devin White is absolutely special, and he's why he's number 4 on Tom's big board. And Quinnen Williams is there at 1, Nick Bosa is at 2, Josh Allen at 3, Devin White at 4, Ed Oliver's sitting there at 5. But again, the top 4 players are 4 players that I realistically think the Raiders could end up with in the first round of the NFL draft. So I talked about those 4 players. Who's going to be the Raiders' first pick in the 2019 NFL draft? I want to know from everybody watching. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, I want you to comment below. Be an overachiever. Do you think they're going to trade back? Maybe they could. Maybe they could trade back for this next guy. Or heck, maybe they could even draft DK Metcalf at pick number 4. I told y'all, Metcalf is a freak, and he absolutely tested insane. Unreal combo of size, speed, jumping ability. Now here's the thing. The poor agility testing does worry me a little bit because I think when people report agility, it might impact their route running ability. And the 1.6% body fat, that's Tuck Rule Tuck that. That's literally like not possible. It's not possible to be 1.6% body fat. If DK ever gets down to 1.6, probably going to be dead. And that's just how it is. But when you look at his measurables at the combine, 6'3", 228, 4.33, 40.5 inch, and then the 7.38 second 3-cone drill. The 3-cone drill is not all that great. But you're telling me a 6'3", 228-pound wide receiver running the 4.3 who's able to jump 40.5 inches? Who's tackling him? And in fact, Gruden literally 2 days ago was like, who is going to tackle DK Metcalf? And he's kind of, the rumors are continuing to grow because Gruden absolutely loves DK. And man, I'll tell you what, I don't blame him at all. He's my number 1 wide receiver in this year's class. And at first I thought maybe the Raiders could get him at pick 24. Nope. Absolutely 0% chance that DK Metcalf is sliding to 24. I think he now is a top 10 pick. So if the Raiders want to get DK, they got to do 2 things. Either draft him at 4, or maybe if they trade back, maybe he slides to them. I don't know if they trade back, or maybe they even got to trade up. But DK is my number 1 wide receiver, and also, you're going to see another wide receiver on this list coming up in a little bit. Now, let's say they don't go wide receiver, and they want to go tight end, because I absolutely am in love with Noah Fant, and a beautiful move tight end, a freak athlete, which it showed at the combine. And here's the thing, like, I think he's kind of getting pushed down a little bit because of the love for TJ Hawkinson. And TJ Hawkinson is, I think, a better NFL tight end, okay? He's a better blocker. He's also a really good receiver. Noah Fant, for you fantasy football fans out there, is going to be the tight end that you need to own this past year. 6'4", 249, a 4.5 second 40 time, like 39.5 inch, but the 3-cone drill at 6.81, that's insane. Noah Fant is a great move tight end, and I hate comparing him to this guy, but when you look at the on the field, to me, he reminds me a lot of Aaron Hernandez, and Aaron Hernandez on the field was a very talented tight end. And if Noah Fant can insert himself into this Raiders team because Jared Cook wants to look elsewhere because he wants to get paid, I'm okay with it. If you give me Noah Fant in that long-term, cheaper deal, I'm all about it. And that's why he's my number 2 tight end in this year's draft class. So I talked about DK, and I talked about Noah Fant. Better draft value. If I could say right now, would you want DK at 4 or Noah Fant at 24? Which would you do? Type 4 for DK or type 24 for Fant? If you want to know what I think, hit me up on IG or Twitter at MitchellRenz365. I have a question for everyone. How long have you been a subscriber? And I've been kind of interested to know this question because we're getting new subscribers every day, and I appreciate all the new subscribers, but I mean, come on. I want to know who the OGs are. I want to know who my OGs are. And I asked everybody on Twitter, on Instagram, and I asked everybody on YouTube at youtube.com/Raiders Report, how long have you been a subscriber? First one's coming in from First Catch. I wonder if you were my first catch. Unfortunately not, because you just said newer sub, but it's much appreciated. Tony Fryer, my man, what's going on? 6 to 8 months. 6 to 8 months. We should probably figure out if it was 6 to 8 months. Hopefully your girlfriend isn't 6 to 8 months. You should probably figure that one out as well. And then what else we got here? Tony, it looks like I maybe screwed up some pictures. Guess what? I was out drinking this past weekend at Tom's bachelor party. Tella Raiders, what's going on? When you started? All right, Tella, when did I start? How about that? Can you tell me when I started? Because I'm curious. Artie Gal, what's going on? Since the beginning of the 2018 NFL regular season, Artie, if that's true, why don't you have a picture? Is this you, Artie? I don't know. It may be you. Maybe you need to wake up. Kind of looks like baby Carlos in about 70 years. Raul Suarez, what's going on? 90 months. Raul, I appreciate the 90-month subscribe. Here's the issue. That Zero Chucky Head suck rule tuck that because we haven't been around for 90 months, but I will say this. And this new picture that I gave you, is this you? Also, I can't wait to the next 90 months here at the Oakland Raiders Report. And for everybody else, make sure you subscribe, youtube.com/Raiders Report. One more question to all the loyal subscribers. What made you subscribe? And when you see this question on the Raiders Report, when I post it on YouTube, I want you to comment on it because the best answers, guess what? You're coming on the show. All right, let's head back in now. Some Raiders targets in that first round. Brian Burns. And I want to give a public apology to my man Tom Downey because he mocked Brian Burns to the Raiders at pick 4. And I was kind of like, Tom, you're a little bit crazy. But after an unbelievable combine, Brian Burns could be a literal pick at 4. I don't think he's going to slide down to 24. And if the Raiders trade back, he could be another option and could be a reason why the Raiders are confident enough to trade back in the draft class. 52 tackles, 15.5 tackles for a loss, 10 sacks. I think one of the big reasons why Brian Burns wasn't getting a lot of hype maybe at the end of the season, let's face it, Florida State was an absolute dumpster fire this year, and it was just ugly to watch, and I think they had so much other BS going on that kind of hurt Brian Burns' stock a little bit. But if you watched his combine, the dude is talented, and he's a really freak athlete, and at the end of the day, we need edge rushers, and Brian Burns, I think, is going to be a really good NFL edge rusher. Another player that I think that the Raiders could target, heck, at 4, or could be a reason why they trade back because they're confident they could get him, is Montez Sweat. And I'm going to say 2 months ago, I said Montez Sweat is a sleeper. The Raiders need to target at 24 and 27. Here's the issue. 0% chance that he's going to go at 24 or 27 after an absolute insane NFL combine. I love Montez Sweat, and I think he literally could be a top 10. Heck, he could be a player that the Raiders target at pick 4. And here's the thing. Jon Gruden, Mike Mayock, they've been saying all offseason that they love the players at the Senior Bowl. Montez Sweat, since the season has ended, dominated the Senior Bowl, dominated the NFL Combine. There you go. I think Jon Gruden and Mike Mayock absolutely love him. He could be a player that the Raiders seriously could target at pick 4. And when I think about my top defensive ends, Nick Bosa, Josh Allen, 2 players that legitimately have a chance to go before the Raiders at pick 4. So what happens if we're looking at Brian Burns and we're looking at Montez Sweat? Who would you take? Guess what? I'm going to ask you. Better fit for the Raiders, Brian Burns or Montez Sweat? Both are on the board. Which one are you taking? I want you to type B for Burns or type S for Sweat. If it's making you burn, if it's making you sweat, I don't know. Maybe call a doctor. Also call a doctor because I'm having a heart attack on this deal that BetDSI hooked us up with. Raiders 120 for that 120% deposit bonus. As I get a thumb down from producer Brett. Chatsports.com/bet for the best promo deal on the internet. Again, it's Raiders 120. If you use it, hit me up on IG or Twitter at MitchellRens365. I may be able to hook you up with something. Next player coming in here, speaking of Sweat Burns, let's talk about some Bush. Undersized but perfect fit in today's NFL. The Raiders, they are still looking for that impact linebacker. And, man, his draft stock, I thought, could rise before the draft. And now after a great combine, it could rise even a little bit more. And the issue is, I think, with the linebacker class, there's Devin White, who I think is superior. And then it's Devin Bush, Mac Wilson. And since my initial rankings come out, I have moved Bush up because of what I saw from this past year from Michigan and just seeing that he is an unbelievably speedy linebacker. And heck, he's making players like Eric Ebron come out and tweet, maybe I need to lay off the honey buns seeing all these linebackers run as quick as they are. Eric, yeah, you probably should lay off the honey buns, but that's besides the point. When I look at the speed that Devin Bush has, it is this new form of linebacker that the NFL has, and it's exciting to watch. And if the Raiders can get Devin Bush at pick 24, I had him mocked to 35 in my last mock draft. That's not going to happen anymore, so I'm hoping maybe Devin Bush is around there for the Raiders at pick 24. My last player here that the Raiders could target in the first round, Hakeem Butler. We knew he was huge on the field, and speed was also, I think, the main worry when it came to Hakeem. But the dude ran a 4.48 40-yard dash, which was absolutely great, and it's going to raise his draft stock. And Sure, I think drops are a main concern because I still do not know if he can catch the football. And I think that, yes, I think from a Raiders standpoint, we know that's a big deal, right? I mean, we had Amari Cooper, but 60 receptions, 1,318 yards, 22 yards per catch. You want a field stretcher? Hakeem Butler. 9 touchdowns. I think he could add a lot of talent around Derek Carr. I really like Hakeem Butler. He's rose up my draft rankings a little bit for wide receivers. Before, wasn't in my top 5. He is now my number 3 wide receiver in the NFL draft, right behind DK Metcalf, right behind N'Keal Harry. I really like Hakeem Butler. Raider Nation, what's going on? Is this the #1 Raiders channel on YouTube? For Chucky Heads, believe it, baby. And if you haven't already, subscribe right here. I'm giving you Chucky Heads news, rumors, Raider Nation rumors. And look at this, I'm making your life easier. Check out my next video. Thanks for watching, and go Raiders.